Hi.
Thank you for coming on this podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Cindy is a model, and she's like an OG Tumblr girl. You've definitely seen like 200 photos of Cindy without probably even knowing.
Am I? Honestly, sometimes I'm like, I don't pop up on my own. Like,
well, over the years, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, I've
I
seen
guess so.
so many photos of you on Tumblr
Really?
before. Yeah, like there's the knife one of you. There's like
oh
one,
my God.
like that one I've seen a bunch. The one, like the iconic ones of you, like from like years ago.
Like the webcam type
like
photos.
those ones,
Oh my
yeah.
God. I actually remember those photos like back in the day. Photo booth photos were like such a thing, and I didn't really have that much money, so I would take them with like one of those, like, remember those like webcams that you could buy and like put on your like computer, like your desktop,
Like for twitching kind of almost.
yeah. Like kind of like I had one of those and I put it on my laptop, and then I would like photo booth was like pinkier, so I would like edit it pink so that it looked like it was taken on photo booth.
You're a very good like creative director almost. I was actually at a party the other day, and me and Devin were talking about your Instagram photos.
Wait,
we were
which
like
Devin?
Carlson.
Carlson?
Yeah,
Oh.
because like we were looking on Instagram and literally like just feed or whatever, and like one of your photos came up where it was for Aloe Yoga. We're like, this is for a brand deal? Like, what the fuck? We talked about it for like 30 minutes. We were like,
Really?
this is crazy. Like, this is the coolest. And I remember like you're a very good editor. Like, you know, like you actually know how to use all the programs, and
Yeah.
you taught yourself how to use all the programs.
I think it honestly has to do with like the fact that like I always like drew and like painted when I was
Yeah.
younger. So then I think they're kind of like the same. Like I think makeup or like painting or like anything like that, it's kind of about seeing what's there. It's just kind of like you just see what needs to be worked on, kind of like shadowing on like a drawing. I definitely like getting creative on Instagram, and like I've been getting more into photography as like time goes by, and realizing that I actually really like that, and that it might be like one of the things that I like more about like social media. Over in quarantine, I like gained weight, and then like just wasn't getting as much modeling like jobs, and it honestly made me sad because I had so much fun like shooting and like doing creative things, and then it wouldn't really happen, and it got to a point where I was like, you know what, like I'll just shoot it myself. Like, I'm just gonna do it. No one wants to do it, I'll do it.
I feel like if you didn't look the way that you do, you would be like a pro behind the camera person. Like, you would just know exactly what to do. You would be a great photographer or a great editor, or just like have a creative eye in that. But because you're just like fucking so hot that you also can be the product. So you're like, wait, like I'm being forced to be the product, and everyone else's creative way that they see me, and like I'll do it and I do a good job, but you're like, I can also do it myself, completely one-man show.
Yeah, I mean, I remember whenever I would shoot, I would always be like wanting to give the photographer like an idea or like whatever. And you know how like when you're on set, there's sometimes like the people on set are like really like friendly and like really down to hear everything, and sometimes like the people that you're working with are like, I'm the genius here, like don't tell me what to do. So I would notice that like every time that would happen, I would get frustrated because I was like, oh, like I think I have a good idea. Like I think we should do this.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. I honestly think that like being on set also has really helped me to like know how to like I can create those type of things myself and like do it in like an effective way. If I hadn't been modeling, I wouldn't know how to set up lights or set up like stuff for myself and take the photos that I take. So, yeah.
Do you set up lighting and do that all? Like,
I literally built a whole studio in my apartment. Like I have a mounted backdrop and I have like a white backdrop, a red backdrop. Over the past year, like I've realized I just really, really like photography, and I just really want to try it out. I was like, you know what, like I'm gonna fully commit myself to this, and then I like built a studio in my apartment so that I can like, I don't have an excuse not to do it, you know?
when you say fully commit, do you mean like, can you see yourself this kind of photography element carrying on into another part of your career?
I definitely want to explore it more. I don't know if it's like what I'm going to do like later in life. I want to do it more than I'm doing it right now, and I definitely want it to be a bigger part of my life. and I want to get better and do more of it. I think that I just like being creative, you know? Like, I think I just like have fun, like creating like scenarios. I have so many things that like I like artistically. Like, I don't necessarily think that like photography is like the one thing that I'm like, but I definitely like that I can just like make it into what I want it to be.
You have kind of like a tool belt that not many people have. You can play and put on all these hats. Can you see certain jobs where you're like, I could do that really well? Because you do know how to do a lot more than like an average model, you know what I mean? So you could do a lot of things. You used to just kind of do modeling, and then you're like, wait, like I can do this, and this. So you started to do that. But where do you kind of like see it snowballing?
I kind of just really like everything. Like, I'm in acting school right now, and like I really want to like direct in the future. Like, I want to get back into YouTube, and I knew that I liked YouTube because I spent so much time on it. So I was like, oh, like I definitely want to do it. But then while I was doing it, I was just trying to do whatever else I saw everyone else doing, and I was like, oh, like this is what I have to do. And then I didn't really like it. And now that I'm exploring more of like my photography and stuff like that, I'm like, I can just do YouTube and like create it into like however I want it. And like I want to do it in a like really artistic way. I like being creative, and I like I would love to like direct in the future, but I mean, I don't know if that's gonna happen for me. Like,
Why not?
I don't know.
The sky
Maybe I
is
dream
the
too
limit.
big.
No.
But honestly, sometimes you have to believe in yourself, and
No,
like
yes.
you have to like you're the only one that's gonna bet
Dude,
for
if
yourself,
you
so.
actually wanted to be a director, you could, and you will. You know what I mean? You just have to say to yourself that.
Yeah.
And not give yourself like an option for it not to. That's literally the only thing that's getting in your way. If you actually set your mind to, I will be a director, like you have everything at your fingertips and disposal. Like you totally could. You shouldn't say that you couldn't. Like you should really.
I just am
really,
such an insecure person.
Yeah.
I'm just like sometimes I think that I can really do something, and then I'm like, but can I? You know, like something in my head is like, maybe you can't do it. Maybe you're just like thinking too big of yourself. But I mean, I definitely think that it's like you have to just bet on yourself and be your biggest fan, and then like even if you're not the best, through like trying and like wanting to get better, you will get better. But
think about though, like if there was another person's consciousness inside of you who was like a total like winner, I'm gonna get this, I'm gonna do it, she would do it, right?
Yeah.
So like the only thing that like you don't possess that's getting you to the place you want to go is like how you're viewing yourself.
Yeah, it's definitely just
but that's the answer. So it's not like, oh, am I good enough? The answer is yeah, you are. You have actually, you out of other people who are feeling the same way have like millions of people validating that exact question that you asked. The only thing that's getting in your way, which I know is so hard to shift, it really is like your view on yourself. But that is the answer. Is like you are good enough to do pretty much anything you want to do. You just have to tell yourself that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that honestly is like the hardest part of like getting yourself to actually like pursue something in life, you know? Like there's a lot of interests that people have throughout their lives, and you just have to like get yourself to a point of view where you're like, oh no, like I'm going to do this. Like I got this and I'm going to do it. And I mean, I completely agree with you. I definitely think it's a hard mindset to get to for some people. I think it comes easier for some other people. It definitely doesn't come easier for me. I think it honestly probably has to do with like the responsibility that I feel like I have in life, like taking care of my mom. So I feel like I can't really like branch off, like experiment with different things, because I just get scared because I'm like, well, I have to like take care of my mom, so I can't really like
take care of her in what way? Like emotionally?
No, I provide for my mom, and like I like take care of my mom fully, and like I take care of myself. I don't really have anything else to fall back on, so it makes me like it's just me and my mom depends on me, so it makes me feel like I like can't really like risk that much. So I think that's definitely, it has a lot to do on like why I don't try to do certain things that I just really, really want to do.
Yeah.
But gotta get myself to the mental place to just go for it.
Every single old person that I ask, like, and I've seen so many YouTube videos of this exact thing, of like the one advice like old people have to kids that are young and have their whole life ahead of them is follow your dreams.
Yeah, just
every single one says the same thing. And so there has to be something to that. Like they're wiser than me, because I feel like I was the same as you and like just self-doubt and just like you should get out of it. And like it's, I'm mad that you're not there, because you would literally like take over the world. And like that's why I'm like, we're gonna get, no, I'm not even kidding.
I was like, we're not leaving here
until you change your idea of yourself. But no, but I really understand you, like more than you think, I think, because like my view of myself was so cripplingly low. But like fear of regret, because like what if like we're like 30 years old and like this window that we had when we were like 21 and 22 or whatever, of like when we had it all at our fingertips, like it doesn't matter if you don't believe in yourself right now, like get over it. Yeah. Start believing in yourself. Yeah. Look at all these other girls that do it, you know, like I see so many girls, and I'm sure like same with you, like that just like have it, you know, like they just like know that they can
just go
do
for it.
Yeah. And they don't, I'm sure they have moments of that they doubt themselves, but they don't let it affect them beyond that.
They work through it. They
work
through it. Are like, oh, like it's a learning lesson. I definitely think, I actually was like having a conversation yesterday, and I think even if it's not something like, I think for some people it comes like easier and like just naturally, but I think it's something that eventually you learn in life, and like you definitely have to like just get over it. Also, like life is not that serious, and like everything that you're scared of like isn't really like that big of a deal, you know, probably like when it comes to like not trying out things. At least for me, most of the time it's like my ego and like my fear of like not being good at like what I want to try out. But like if you're not good, then you just keep trying and you just get better. So yeah, definitely will try.
Also, something that prevented me from like with that stuff, with you just saying like if you're not good, like get better, like trying something and like you're shitty at it, like something I've realized is all those people that were like naturally good at stuff, they just did it secretly. They just worked hard. They just did it secretly, and they got better at it. And then we, to the naked eye, are just like, wow, these people are so good at that. But it's like they've put a lot of time, and no one is like, yes, there's crazy outliers who are naturally good at some things, but like naturally good at like modeling were the kids that like did it secretly, practice and got good at it, for example. So like you will be shitty at everything you first initially try for a short period of time until you get over that, and you just improve and improve and improve.
Honestly, sometimes also like ambition can beat talent, because like someone that like honestly like, oh, like maybe you think that I'm really good at photography, and maybe like you don't think this other person's as good at photography as me, but they have more ambition. They're more willing to try and go and get out there. They'll get more things than me, that I'm just sitting here and like, oh, like being too scared to even try. So I think that if you're hardworking, it will make up for like anything that you think that you don't have, you know?
Well, that's what I mean by kind of like if someone else's consciousness was inside you, like a really like winning consciousness of like one of those go-getters that's like, I will get there no matter what. Like if that person was inside like me or you, like I'm trying now to like build that, to make it be me. And like I've been honestly successful over quarantine to do that. Like I've seen like a really random shift, but it's only about the mindset that you have. Like if you have a winning, go-getting attitude of like, I don't care if I fail, like whatever, I'm going to just chase this. I don't care what it looks like if I fail, I'm just going to do it and no one's going to stop me. You'll get there. Or if you're reaching here, you might get here. But if you're reaching here, you're not doing it, you're never going to get there, you know?
Definitely. I gotta go.
What kind of things do you feel like when you like think to yourself, like, I can't do it? Like, what are you saying to yourself? Like, what's the fear?
My biggest fear is like just like failing. Just because I, like, before I, like, worked and, like, I did social media, I just lived such a different life with me and my mom. Like, we just didn't really have money. Like, it was just really, really different. And I just get really scared of, like, getting there again.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that you won't ever be in that position again.
That's what everyone says, but I just get so scared, you know? It, like, it doesn't really make sense. I actually go to therapy to deal with it, because they literally, like, my therapist will be like, but none of this shit makes sense. I'm like, but what if? Like, and she's like, but I'm telling you, it won't.
You're fine. Yeah.
But I think I just like really have fear of like my childhood and like just getting back into like the place that I was. So I just think I'm at a point where I'm like, oh, I just don't want to take any risk and not like,
Fuck it up.
yeah, I just don't want to fuck it up. And then I'll just like not really risk things. My mom just had such a bad life for so long that I'm like, wow, like at least she's fine now. So I just kind of like, I'm like, I kind of prioritize that sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense, but you won't ever be in that position. I know me not saying that isn't going to do shit, especially if you're already in therapy for it, which is amazing. But I mean, in terms of like being scared to try, you know, like, and or being scared to fail, it won't take away success that you've already made for yourself. Like if you try like to act or whatever and you do a bad job, like it's not like it's gonna take away your whole Instagram and modeling.
I just think like social media is so unreliable. It's so scary. It's just so weird, you know, like it's like a weird world to live in. Like I grew up like having a fan account for somebody else, and like I really like understand like how people's mindsets work. Like before moving here, I was on social media, but like I was just on social media as myself, and like my friendships or relationships weren't public. And then when I moved here, everyone knew who I was hanging out with, who I wasn't hanging out with, what was going on, or would draw like assumptions. And then it just took such a big like pull on my like mental health. It made me scared to live my in real life because I was like, well, if I fight with somebody, they'll just like draw all these crazy conclusions and like just make me into like a fucking demon. And then I just like, I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck is going on, you know? Like I was like, it's not even what the fuck they're saying. Like, so I had never really like experienced like a like bad side of it. And then once I did, it really scared me. I take everything too hard and then I'll just be so traumatized for so long.
Well, that's like the hard part of like fame, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is people caring what you do now. And that was like your first taste of it and you're like, I don't like this.
Yeah, I was like,
Just
wait.
straight up.
I was like, fuck, I don't even know how to fix this. I just used to think that like everyone on social media just really knew who I was.
Like
I
your
just
fans?
Yeah, like I would just be so open and just talk so much and like not really be scared of like anyone like twisting anything because it hadn't happened before. And then it like did, and I was like, oh, like I didn't know this was going to happen at all because I just really thought that like everyone like knew how I was. And it also used to be my safe space because I grew up and like I didn't really have friends. I used to move a lot. And like I just had a fan account for like literally so many years on Twitter.
Was it for Rihanna? Was that who?
I don't want to say who it was for.
I'll cut it out. That's incredible, by the
You
way.
don't have to cut it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, that's amazing.
Yeah.
What a turnaround.
Yeah. Sometimes like the shit they say, I'm like, I literally have no idea what you're talking about. Like I saw this crazy thing being like, Cindy's an escort. She got in the car with Lil Nas X.
Cindy's a what?
An escort.
Okay.
She got in a car with Lil Nas X. And I was like,
Lil Nas is gay, first of all.
I've just never met the man. I've just literally, like it makes me really anxious to like sometimes say something that like I just generally don't mean like a bad intention whatsoever. And then like,
it's turned
into like something else. So I just try to like be really clear with what I mean now. Just don't ever try to mess up. I have always tried to be really educated on everything, really open to hear if I've done anything wrong. Now society is thankfully like becoming more like aware, more open, more accepting. But we grew up in a society that wasn't. And, like, there's, like, internalized things that we don't even realize. Like, I was just saying the other day, I'm like, sometimes I won't realize that something that I do is, like, internalized misogyny against myself. And then I'm like, wait.
What do you mean?
Like eating disorders in women, like, all of these things that we, like, sometimes don't even realize that, like, it's because we live in, like, a society that has been set up for women to, like, be a certain way and for men to be a certain way, and women have been viewed as objects, and like it's certain things that like I just before didn't even like have a grasp on. I think if you come on the internet and you have an open mind and like are down to hear what other people are saying, like you can learn a lot. But I think it's definitely scary to like have possibly like fucked up.
Do you think the internet has hurt your confidence or helped it?
I think it's definitely hurt my confidence. Yeah, I can't even begin to explain all the different ways. I think just being able to see so many things all the time is not good. Like with photography, I could be working on a photo and be like, damn, like this is amazing. And then like go online and see another photographer and be like, oh my God, this is so much better. Like I wish I had done that. And then I just like don't even feel good about my things when like my things were so great. I don't think our brains are made to like be taking in this much information all the time,
especially about like what you look like and stuff, like comments and things like that.
Sometimes like I just know people and I don't really realize like the image that they have online, and then like I look online, I'm like, wow, like this is so crazy, like we just portray such a different like version of ourselves on social media sometimes, and like not even like realizing it, and like just honestly meeting people and like realizing that like they're not like perfect human beings all the time. Luckily we're like around like most of the people we see on social media, and we know that like not everybody's perfect. I remember when I lived in Spain and I would just see everything and I was like, oh my God, like I could never be like this. But now I know that we just put the best versions of ourselves up on social media, and I think you just have to kind of keep that in like the back of your head. I definitely don't think that like we should be looking at social media all day. I just don't even think our brains can handle it, honestly.
Well, we've like technically humans have stopped evolving. Like we stopped evolving.
Yeah.
We'll become enlightened and get more information, but like physically we have stopped evolving. Our brains are not equipped to handle this much comparison, I don't think, and it's giving everyone anxiety, and there's numbers to back that up because it's true. Like everyone kind of just feels worse, you know, and it's like this weird like technology wave that we're riding up that I think scares a lot of people. And then like people who like us who are so immersed in it, like kind of like 10 years ahead of the people that will be as engaged in their phones as we are already now. We already see how detrimental it can be to how it makes you feel, and just having your worth and like who you are like now have like a number attached to it. And like that's like there's like Black Mirror episodes on like kind of exactly that of like because we know that's where it's heading. Like there's already apps being created where people now keep a credit score of like interactions you've had with them, which scares the shit out of me. But
wait, really?
Yeah, I was talking to this one person this summer who is a professional poker player, and he was he's like
exactly like the one
and literally I said that to him. I was like, don't do this because it's scaring me. I don't like this. And he was just like, it was with the intent of for business, within business. So if you worked in like finance, whatever it is, you would have a business page, and it would be a way of seeing who is a good person to negotiate in business, who's a fair person. And it like obviously these things start off with good intentions. Like Twitter started off with the intention, let's start a conversation, you know, like, and then it just turns into something else. So like that the intention was to see and to encourage good behavior. But I know that shit is going to get really scary fast. Because
do you think that social media is a bubble and that it will eventually like we won't be using it, like we will use it to the max and then it'll blow out? Because if you look at human history, we kind of have done that with like every new thing that we had. But do you think it's a bubble that will die out?
The thing is, honestly, no. And like I wish that was the answer, like deeply to my core. I wish I could like honestly say to myself, I think this will pass, because then I'd have some relief as well. But like I don't. I really think that this is going to be the future, unfortunately. I think that it's like that even like right now we're in a very interesting time of like now TikTok people are like very, very famous, and like these are the new celebrities. Like I've talked about this on other podcasts, but like it's very interesting to me to see this, because they're like more like relevant than like even the Kardashians. Like they have more
Yeah.
engagement and stuff like that because people care. They're very much invested into these TikTokers for whatever reason. And I see this becoming the future. I see people getting famous like that more and more and more. And I think that it's gonna shift media. And I can see kids growing up wanting to be famous more and more and more versus than it
But
was
once
20 years ago.
everybody's famous, who's famous?
Well, we're already kind of there. Like everyone's like famous in some way. Like whether it's like you're the one person with like 10K at your school and like that's famous.
Yeah.
You know, everyone in their hometown has somebody that like has a little bit. Whether it's like they're 25 on Tumblr or like this on their Twitch stream. Like everyone's tapped into this and buying into this social media game of who can make money and who can do this and who can do that. That's another aspect of why I don't think social media is going to go away, is because there's such a big price tag that benefits
I mean,
from
it definitely won't go away, but I wonder if like the amount of attention, I mean, honestly, probably because like newer generations are just like introduced to it right away. And that's probably why these like TikTokers have so much attention, is like they appeal to like a way younger demographic. And like maybe the Kardashians are more famous in the real world, but the people that are on their phones, there's way more kids that are like young and using their phones 24/7 because that's the reality they live in. I always wonder what like reality was back in the day when we like didn't have our phones. Like I sit in my room and I'm like, damn, like people before would just read a book. Like they wouldn't pick up their phone. And it's so insane that you just have this like little device and you can just look into the entire world with it.
Yeah. It's a whole other world.
Yeah.
The one thing like that I do find interesting about like social media and TikTok and all of this kind of thing, which I kind of like, is it's the first time like that the people of the world get to decide who's famous. You know, it's not
I think
Hollywood
that's interesting
anymore.
too. But I wonder if it really is like that. Like the Instagram egg, like someone was behind that, you know?
Oh, like the most
and like
liked
the people
photo?
didn't choose it. Like that was fed into the people. And it's kind of scary. Have you seen The Social Dilemma?
Mm-hmm.
I met with someone that like worked at one of these like social media companies, and he was telling me that like it's not as much on our hands as we may think. I also think it's different because like the internet and algorithms create your own bubble for you. So like
Totally.
yeah, like you're gonna think that whoever person's famous in your own bubble. We kind of have no idea. I mean, definitely it will stay in our life, but I wonder if it's gonna stay in our life the same way that it is now. How much can we blow it over? How much can we like care about like celebrity culture, and like for how long? Is that even real life? You know, like do we even really care about these things?
I'm worried we'll become obsessed. I feel like that's what scares me, is like now, because you make like good points. Like how long can we keep doing this for? Like we're seeing like an uphill climb right now where everyone's just like, this is it, you know? And like even actors who are like have been doing auditions and like put in their hard work and like are real deal actors, like are now, who don't have social media followings, that they devoted their life to their craft, are now not getting the part to people with millions of followers just because they have millions of followers. And their agents are now telling these actors like, you need to get followers. Like this is how the industry's turning. That's what's scary about it.
But I think it will get to a point where like people get tired out. Once you watch a movie and you just know who every single person in the movie is, it's gonna get to a point where you're like, I want to see something new. I don't know if celebrity culture will continue to live on forever. You know, celebrity culture is a pretty new like thing in like society and human culture, especially to the amount that we have it now.
When you said like, I often think about like how my life was before all of this, and like I do all the time. I like crave that feeling that I had before all of this, and like before I had like Instagram, and before I had like anything, and before like this like digital world that like I can go into for hours now existed. And like I just lived here, you know, and like I didn't think about followers and like what people were doing. Everyone was on pause, but now I can like see what everyone's doing and no one's on pause, and it's just
Yeah.
overstimulating me forever and ever and ever for every single day of my life. Like, you don't take, unless you're really taking a break, you don't take a break off of that.
You don't.
It's like you're
And I
signing
think
up for a
especially
new life.
it's harder, like, if you also think of social media as some sort of like job, like especially with modeling, like usually social media comes hand in hand with it. It's different for a lot of other people also, because social media can also be a way to like kind of like let go of their everyday life and like look at something that isn't really relevant. I think we also don't necessarily experience social media maybe the way that everybody does, so it's kind of hard to tell.
I think we have like the harder aspects of it because we have like people leaving like mean comments and stuff like that. So like we experience like more of like the turmoil of social media. And then also, to your point, like it is technically our job, so we can't fully like put it on the shelf and leave it, because we can't do that. We don't have that luxury. So we kind of have like a more negative view on it than most people I've talked to. But I honestly think it's just we have a sped up. Like, we are just,
I think so
we're
too.
just 10 years ahead of everyone. Like ahead of the masses. Like
I think we can just see everything that under our own like umbrella. I mean, you kind of put it perfectly. Like we just like kind of like see it
and we're
ahead
like, no.
and how it's gonna play out.
In terms of modeling, does social media help you with modeling? Because it definitely helps.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I wouldn't have been modeling like if I didn't have social media, and I always wanted to model when I was younger, but the only reason I could really do it was because of social media.
Did you try before?
I definitely tried. I lived in a small town always. Like I never lived in a city, so it's not like I would have gotten like scouted somewhere. Like I literally lived in a town with 30,000 people. Like I wasn't gonna get scouted there. Yeah. I got booked for my first job when I got booked through social media. Mm-hmm. I had 80,000 followers, and I got my first like job. I remember I actually thought that like they were pranking me, because it was for Yeezy. 80,000 followers wasn't that, like, it was a lot, but I just like I had never gotten like anything out of social media. She sent it on my inbox on Tumblr. She was like, I was like, oh, like, are you pranking me? Like I was like, I literally responded like, if you're pranking me, like it's honestly just not even funny. Like she was like, no, like I'm not. I swear to God, I could find the email. She was like, I'm not pranking you. Like it's a real job. And then I flew here, but I don't think I would have been modeling. I'm not the skinniest. I'm 5'8", but I'm not like super tall. Not enough to like someone stop me in the middle of the street. It definitely helped, and I'm super grateful for it, honestly, because I think it's such a fun way to like, even on social media, you can kind of like experiment, and even if you wouldn't have like a chance before, you can kind of showcase on your own social media and like be like, no, people, like I can really do this. Like, let me try. You know?
When you signed with an agency in the States, did you have like did they ever tell you to like change things about yourself, like cut your hair or like don't wear like this kind of shit? Like I remember mine was like I had white nails, like I always had like really long white nails and hair to my waist, and I was so worried that they were gonna like tell me to lose weight or like change my hair and change my nails, like my fucking hair and nails, like get over it. But that was like the biggest deal to me at the time, and I wouldn't do it at 16.
Really?
I was like, no. I
mean, it's honestly kind of good that you stood your ground, because when I was 16 and I got signed, like my agency was so harsh. They were like, you're fat, you have to lose weight. Like they made me cut my hair to they literally told me that I couldn't go out in the sun. And they were like, you can't be tan. And I was like, but I'm Indonesian. And they were like,
take that.
They were like, well, you just can't tan, really. Like, you should just, like, not go out in the sun. I was like, okay. Like, I guess I'll stay inside this summer. It was, like, a legit thing. They made me dye my hair lighter. And
they were, like, trying to whitewash you almost.
Definitely in Spain, they would.
Wait, this was in Spain?
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah. It definitely happened a lot in Spain. Like, I just tanned really, really, like, fast and like a lot. I understand where they were coming from, because I can look different pretty fast. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but I honestly kind of thought it was like weird back in the day. I was like, well, it's kind of just like my genetics. Like they definitely made me do a lot of things when I was younger They told me I couldn't wear makeup. I know they were just trying to like look out for me, but they were trying for me to be on like the mindset that I am now, you know? But I'm like, I'm 22 now. But I'm like, when I'm 16, I'm just starting to try out makeup. I want to have fun. Like you're just a kid when you're like starting out.
Like now looking back on it, because like now you can kind of see for what it is, you know, like especially like things like insecurities, I feel like I can tell like a lot better as I'm older. Like, wow, like when I was 16 I didn't realize I was that gnarly about this and this and this. Like, can you see now things that you kind of carry with you through that?
I mean, I definitely think eating and like body dysmorphia is a huge thing. I definitely like developed such insane body dysmorphia throughout the years. Like, I can never tell what I look like. I will never know what my body looks like. I just literally see myself in the mirror and like sometimes I see something, sometimes I see something different. It's so confusing. I actually wish agencies would just be straight up and be like, we actually ask girls to be skinny. And we like, I'm like, they should like fucking be honest about it, you know? Because agencies do ask you to be skinny and sometimes just speak to like young girls in like such insane ways. And they're so young and it's so easy to like have that affect your mindset for so long. I've personally not had the healthiest like ways of being told that I had to look a certain way.
Also too, like I think like part of what you're getting at is like that every girl, especially models, like will go through at one point, even the naturally skinny ones, like some sort of eating disorder to a scale, right? Like whether you're being hospitalized for an eating disorder or whether we're getting your parents involved or whether it's for a couple months and like it's not that big of a deal, but it's still technically an eating disorder, right?
Yeah.
So it's such a big focal thing for girls, like girls weight, and girls put on weight faster than guys. We have more like fat cells or whatever it is. And then we have the pressure of being girls and your beauty is such a insane part of what you're supposed to bring to a guy and to the world and like whatever, especially being a model. It's like that's now everything, like that's all we care about is like how pretty and skinny and whatever you are. I don't think, to your point, like enough people talk about like how pretty much like every girl, like model or not, will at some point like consider like not eating this or like not eating this day or whatever it is just to fit this
idea that like I'm like, we just have the idea that we just have to be beautiful. I just sometimes watch like the guys around me, I'm like, they just like sometimes don't even think this way. It is mostly for women and it's just because of how women have grown up in society. And like these are things that like when you get older you realize and you like are like, wait, like why do I even care about this? Why do I even feel like I have this responsibility to like be pretty, you know? Like, is that really my job? Like, I mean, for us, we're like, but like, you know, like I know that like a lot of women feel like this.
Cindy and I used to live together, for anyone who doesn't know. And I remember like during that time, you were like, it was like, I think during the time where you like realized that you were like hot with like a thick ass, you're like looking in the mirror, you're like, I'm thick and I like it. Like you were like just like kind of like going through this.
Well, I actually,
you were like slim thick.
Honestly, I've just had gone through such a bad eating disorder for like so long, like 2-3 years. And I think when you have an eating disorder, sometimes it doesn't leave. It just turns into a different sort of eating disorder. Like I like wasn't eating before and then I just started to obsessively eat,
like
to like
binge eating?
Yeah, I would just be obsessed with food and just make food because I think I just felt alone because I just had moved into like a new place and I just like was trying to like feel some sort of like
fill a void.
Yeah, like then like I went through a whole year of that and then like I feel like eating disorders just are so hard to get rid of. And honestly, like I still even fight it today. You just literally have like this like little thing that just like looks out to the whole world and you just put yourself out to the whole world. So you just like put so much pressure on yourself. And it's not necessarily like even if you have like a lot of followers. I think it happens for anybody that's on social media because it
could be your school.
Changes your perspective on like reality.
For me at least, like I remember when I was like 15 being like, I want to lose weight, like but I didn't know, and I was so skinny, like it was crazy. But and I remember like looking on Tumblr like anorexic like
Oh, like
Tumblr
thin
accounts.
spill?
Yes.
Oh,
And like
trust
now
me.
like it's
Thanks for it.
but
Tumblr is like, do you need
like
help?
pro anorexic
Yeah,
account.
yeah.
What the fuck?
Skinny is not like necessarily the answer, you know? Like some people just are skinny and skinny is like perfect for them. 'Cause
Yeah.
they're just like naturally skinny. I think the goal just like should be to be healthy. Back in the day, like the sexy thing was being curvier, you know? Like society goes through like
Trends.
trends and like women just have to like apply themselves to it and just
Totally.
like I mean they don't have to, but like we've been taught that like that's kind
If
of
you
like,
want to be desired.
yeah, that's like just kind of like the thing.
Yeah, of course, like the ideal is like you want to be healthy, like not skinny. Like skinny doesn't mean healthy. And for a lot of people, it means the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Like very unhealthy eating habits, like torturing yourself every day to like not eat or whatever it is, or eat a very small amount and like work it off. But yeah, you want to be healthy. I think there's a lot of moving elements now of why it's so hard to be like thin now, and not to say
Yeah.
that's like the end all be all, but like because like everything's processed and it's so easy to get like shitty food. And like back in the day, like in the day portion sizes were a quarter of the size as they are now. Like there's and so we're dealing with all of these like different categories. Over 100 years ago, everyone was naturally thinner, right?
Yeah.
Everyone.
I mean, I don't
guys
think
and
that's
girls.
necessarily it. I think your body has a lot to do with your like just genetics. I
Yes.
definitely think that like at least what I've been realizing, I think a lot of the things that we deal with every day are a product of like capitalism and consumerism, and like we don't really realize. I think like definitely like the portions, especially in America, are just so huge. Like in Spain, we don't eat like big dinners like we do here.
Well, it's on their agenda in capitalism in general to keep everyone, especially girls, because girls are 80% of sales, home sales. Like that, it's 80%. Like the woman in the house tends to be the shopper of the house.
Yeah.
So it's in their best interest to keep them insecure.
Yeah.
Like genuinely.
Yeah.
So they keep buying things that will make them not insecure.
Yeah. I mean, society just convinces you that you need a certain thing, but you
Yeah.
don't actually. But like, usually eating disorders can also be a lot about control and just wanting control over something. Like I remember like sometimes I would go out with my boyfriend and like eat whatever, and it was like in front of me, and like I hadn't been eating that much, so I was like, oh my God, like I'm gonna eat everything. And then the day after I would just feel so guilty and like be like, I just shouldn't eat, you know, like that's not normal. I actually remember I would always tell my boyfriend, like I was like, I think I have an eating disorder, and he would be like,
You're like, I need to get this off my chest.
but he would be like, but you eat so much. And I would be like, no, but I eat so much with you. And then I don't.
I see that a lot, actually, like that exact thing you're talking about,
Yeah.
which is like people eating like in front of people, and then as soon as they're not with anyone, they like starve themselves. I think
Yeah.
that's actually probably the most common eating disorder I
Yeah.
see, is exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I definitely did that for like a long time. And then I would like seek out help. And people would be like, but I feel like you're fine, you know? And I would be like, okay.
Okay.
Whatever.
So how did you kind of like get to a point where you're like, I'm over this?
And I think when I started going to therapy, I like just learned more about myself and like the things that I not accidentally, but like unconsciously do. Once you learn about the things that you have building up under, it doesn't necessarily like take them away. Like you might still deal with them, but at least you know that they're there. I think it's good to like have peace with like your toxic traits, because then you can control them and you can not let them like get bigger. Over even quarantine, I think I just developed like a higher sense of like myself and like what I need.
Is that through therapy or through a bunch of things?
I got into a really bad place like last year, and I was like, oh, like I really need therapy. And now I'm like, oh, like everyone needs therapy, you know? Like I literally like convince everyone. I'm like, like you just need to do therapy, like trust me. Or like you just need to journal, like trust me, just start a journal. And like,
Does journaling help you?
journal helps me so much. Just becoming self-aware and like just kind of like being like, I think introspection is so important, because the more you know yourself better, the more that you can like treat other people fairly, the more you're gonna understand about other people. Sometimes you don't really have a problem with a person, and like you just like have a problem with like a certain thing they do that reminds you of something that you, like, I don't know.
You
I
do
think
or
like
your parent does, and it
yeah,
can
like
go
I
so
think
far.
like introspection just helps you like also be less angry at like the world. And I used to be really hard on myself even if I like did something that I didn't think was right, and then I'd be like, oh fuck, like I just messed up, you know, like I like yeah, like I was just not dealing with something, and then it turned into like something bad.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the difference between like being a prisoner of your mind or like the gatekeeper, and like you can like really control and you know what's going on. Like
Yeah.
you are in control of how you feel and how you react, and like certain anxieties will still be there, but it's like, and it's not to say like they'll always like you can take them away, but like you'll know what to do when they come.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
you literally have a
So much
handle
better.
on it.
Yeah.
And you can navigate life so much better, and your relationship so
Yeah.
much better if you just know what the fuck is going on
Yeah.
inside of yourself. Over quarantine, like what things were you doing to kind of tap into yourself?
I honestly created habits for myself because I realized I'm a really anxious person, and I used to think that like I just had to like be messy in order to be creative. I was like, if I like am like a put together person, it will mess up my creativity. And then I was like, I realized that I was just living in my own mess, and I just wasn't being creative because I was just like never knew what was going on, you know? I think therapy was also like a really good thing because like I don't have family here, and having someone that like I can rely on and like talk to and not feel judged was like so good. I literally was like in the worst place mentally that I have ever been.
During quarantine?
No, like right before. I just was doing really, really bad, and like I almost got put in psych ward, and like
Bad in like what sense? Like just like a lot of anxiety, or like
I like just was really depressed, and like I would get to a point where I would just like convince myself that there was just no point for me to keep going. And like it got to a point where I was like, I think that I need to like go to a psychologist. Like
why do you think, like what kind of things were triggering that in you? Like what?
I think it was a lot of my childhood. I just generally was like really, really scared of like ending up in the same place. Like
Do you think that fear came because like you now like had a glimpse of like something more? So you're like, I can't like lose this because what if? Like, is that why?
I don't think necessarily, because I was still pretty happy. I just hadn't really realized a lot of the things that happened in my childhood. Sometimes your brain just like kind of like puts things to a corner because you can't really deal with them. Like I was dealing with a parent with addiction, and I just didn't really know. Well, I knew, but like was kind of in denial of it. After being alone, like it started hitting me, and it just made me be in such a bad place. And then like I started therapy, and like meditation and therapy literally like changed my life. I just was really scared of life, you know? Like I thought life was really scary, and I just was thinking of I was just thinking of my past and like how scary it was. It's like a fear that I deal with like all the time.
To who you are now, and like obviously we're not finished products, but like how do you become like a happier individual?
Getting to know yourself really good, like really well, just is going to help you in so many different ways. I think definitely what you were saying about like following like whatever dreams you have is a big, big thing. And I mean, I hopefully can get through that, you know?
How often do you meditate?
I used to do it every day. I haven't been doing it as often now, but just like the way that you breathe just automatically like takes your anxiety away. Like I remember the first time I meditated, I went outside and I meditated. I used to do this thing where I would like play music, be on my phone, be watching, like I would have so many things going on for some reason.
Yeah.
And then that day I was like, why do I do that? Like I literally was like, what am I doing? And I just stayed quiet the entire day. Like I literally wasn't on my phone. Like I wasn't watching TV. I wasn't listening to music. I just enjoy the silence. And like it's not like the happiest thing that has ever happened to me, but it's interesting to like see how like calm I felt that day, and like how I didn't feel the need to like have all these different things.
Like you just wanted to be bored with your thoughts, you
Yeah.
know, like that's like the one thing, like the digital age, it's like taken away boredom completely, and there's such a like beauty to it because you can sit with your thoughts and just reflect, and like no one does that anymore at all. Like even when you wake up in the morning, like you take your phone to like the bathroom, or like you just are never bored ever. It's like
you don't have
weird,
like that much time with yourself. I think alone time is so important, honestly. Like I love being alone, and I love like just knowing myself really well.
If you carry on your life just continuously, like on your phone, on your computer, with your friends, doing this on the TV, listening to music, listening to podcasts, whatever it is, you're gonna forget to take time alone and figure out who the hell you are, and like why you're anxious, and why you lashed out at your friend, and why you're jealous, and why you can't seem to be the better version of yourself. Like you really need to take the time out of your day or your week, whatever, to just be alone and like shut it all off and like just think for a second. Like actually really, something I hope you guys take away from this is like actually, like to your point, like spend time alone, because if you really want to change who you are and like become a better, more evolved human being, it, for me, and seems to be with you, like, and a lot of other people, a huge portion of that is being alone with your thoughts and figuring it out who you are. Like, just take an hour out of it and just like be bored and reflect.
Yeah. Because I think it's hard, honestly, like to like kind of fight the like temptation of like going on your phone nowadays, like being real. So like it's hard to like just be like, oh no, like I'm just gonna be bored. So I think journaling is a good way to like force yourself to like be like, no, like I'm going to just think right now. You're literally like writing it down. So like you're not doing anything else and you're just following one train of thought. Sometimes I'll be journaling, and like beginning of journaling, I would have been like mad about one thing, and then like as I'm like journaling, I'm like, well, it probably happened because of this and like because of this, and then I'll like be like, oh, like I'm not even angry anymore. And if I hadn't journaled, I probably would have stayed angry at it, you know? So I think journaling is just like such a good way to like spend a little time with like your thoughts.
I don't journal because like I tried to journal, my mom did, but one thing I did try, which is really similar, was like video diaries.
Yeah, a lot of people do that, or like people like record like themselves talking and it's like a thing.
No, totally.
And like it helps you so much, you know.
No, it like one of the most important tools to have is be 100% honest with yourself. Like, oh, like I just said that because I was insecure. Like, don't say it's because of the other person. Like that's not the truth. Like really, you have to be so brutally honest and like take away no ego like with yourself.
Well, the good thing is, even if you don't, like even if you lie, when you're lying and it's only you, it feels like a lie, you know? Like you're like, it's not really like that. So like even if you lie about it, you know the truth, and you end up like learning.
Yeah, you work things out. Like as you said, like I've been like I've done video diaries where I'm like starting, and then I'll like bring up like a boy or something, and then I'm like, oh, like you don't really like him.
Yeah,
like I'll literally figure it
so
out.
So many things about yourself.
Like, oh my god, I can't believe it. Or it's like, or I like come to the conclusion of like, I need to let this friend go, when I didn't know that before I started the video diary. I was just mad, or I was just like hurt or upset, and then like I'll talk to myself on photo booth for like 10 minutes, and it will just pour out of you because you don't even realize it's like you want it to pour out of you. And when you give yourself the permission to do it, whether it's recording yourself on photo booth or it's like you're writing it down, like once you give yourself the permission, it like flows out of you. Like you can't even help it.
Yeah.
And you didn't realize
it's
you had
like
so much to say.
Own therapist, honestly.
Totally,
like you're just like talking to yourself, and you're not going to judge yourself. And even if you like do, like the other part of you knows the truth. So it's like there's not really a way you can work around it. Yeah, like you can have amazing friends, but like you can't say everything to like everyone, and like sometimes you just don't want to, you know. And like it's so good to like be like have the ability to be your own best friend, because at the end of the day, like it's only gonna make you a better friend to know yourself better, you know. Like, it's only made me a better friend. I just won't ever like do anything out of like insecurity or anything like that, because I have a grasp on like how I feel, what my insecurities are.
100%, because you're literally leveling up for yourself
Yeah.
and for other people. Like I remember I have one video diary that I rewatched the other day that was like a year old, and it was literally like just being so honest, and I was just like, I just like want to be like a better person for like the person that I end up with, like in my with my who I end up with like marrying. Like, and then I was like going back on the video and I was like, is that bad? Like, should I not want to improve myself? Like, should I completely want to improve myself for myself? I was like, is it bad that I'm like, oh, like you should improve yourself for the person that you're gonna be with? But like, it's a symptom of what happens when you improve yourself.
Well, I don't think wanting to be better for other people is necessarily a bad thing. I think I've actually been reading a lot about individualism, which is like actually like a new thing from humans. And like humans are empathetic, loving like beings. You don't need to like only want to be good for yourself. I think being good to other people also feels good for yourself. I know that I feel the best when I feel like I'm being kind to other people. It like at the end of the day, like we have some sort of sense of like community and connection. I don't think it's a bad thing at all to like want to be better for other people.
Yeah. I think it was just like more like, I think like growing up, like I made such a point of like, I want to be like the best version of myself, like for the guy I end up marrying. Like I've always said that to myself as like a young, And so like I've always said that to myself as like a young girl of like, you need to be, and like, I don't like this part of me because like I want to be like a pro, like feminist, like whatever, but that's like such a strong
honestly,
vein
like,
I've had of in myself.
Feminism isn't only like, oh, I want to be the strongest. Like, I'm like, feminism can be about whatever. I honestly think feminism should be about whatever you want and feeling no shame in whatever you want. Like, honestly, I'm like, if some girl wants to like marry a guy for money, I'm like, then do whatever you want, honestly. Like, I'm like, girls should just do whatever they want. I'm like, we've had enough of like doing whatever anybody else wanted. I don't think it's a like necessarily like an anti-feminist like idea to like want to be better for other people, especially because it's like someone you love.
I know it's not like ultimately hurting anyone. I just was like, maybe I should, like to your point, like think more individual, more just for myself.
But
and
that's not realistic. It's not. I don't even think. I personally don't like thinking like that. You know, I like thinking outwards as well and like being empathetic. And I think it's always like rewarding. I think also when you spend I know that you like spending time alone because I know when we lived together, like you like spending time alone. I think like once you spend time alone, you're not like gossiping about whatever's happening in the moment or like, you know, you're having like real ass conversations with yourself. And I think it makes you more likely to like want to like keep going those types of conversations.
Yeah. It's interesting that both you and I do versions of that because it's not like a common thing, you know, girls like, well, journaling. Yeah. That's like been around for centuries. I feel like it's almost like specific types of people, like the fact that you had a Tumblr as well. Like what kind of things do you feel like Tumblr kind of brought you? Because there is a specific type of person that makes a Tumblr. I've noticed. Have you noticed that too?
Yeah.
It's not everyone.
And like I noticed that like even if some people have like, I think you and I use Tumblr more in like the same type of way.
Yeah, totally.
But then I have friends that I'm like, oh, what's your Tumblr? And then I'll see their Tumblr. I'm like, oh. Oh, never mind.
I'm scared of you.
I'm like, I think we like talking. And I think, honestly, I know I like Tumblr because I love my inbox and I love people asking me questions and making me think inwards, you know, and making me be like, yeah, like, why am I into this? Or why do I like this? Like, just questioning myself. And I feel like you do the same thing. I read your Tumblr.
Yeah. I love you.
So, like, I feel like that's definitely why we both like spending time alone.
Yeah.
We probably just like getting to know ourselves better. You know?
I think that, and then like also too, like having like a sense of community with people that like get
that's
you,
so
you
important.
know?
Yeah.
Like I think that's like a strong desire that's in both of us of like wanting to be around like-minded people that want to have conversations, you know.
I also think like the people that like I get on Tumblr and like Twitter, like I just feel like they're so similar to me. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, if you were even like looking at the like my Tumblr, it's what I would be looking at if I wasn't me, you know.
100%.
So I'm like, I generally feel like I'm best friends with everybody on my Tumblr and everybody on my Twitter. When I journal, I actually like have like this rule that I made for myself, which is like I write down what I'm gonna do that day, what I feel grateful for, what I am that day, and I'll just be like, oh, like I'm kind, loving, and I'll just like manifest it. But like I literally write down every single day like my Twitter followers. Like I'll just be like, I just think they're my best friends. Like, I just literally feel like they are.
Well, because it's just people who understand you, who aren't gonna judge you, who are like, to your point, like us. You know what I mean? Like we would have been them had we not been in this position. Like I would have definitely been following a girl's Tumblr and like asking questions. Yeah. And like been so in it because like there's
I'm like, I know because I looked at your Tumblr. You know, like I'm like I literally would like scroll through your Tumblr and be like, even I'm like. Even if I knew you, like I'd just be like, let's see what Charlotte's saying. Like, I'm like, what does she think? You know? And I do this with like anybody that like kind of like stalking like that. It honestly was really easy when I would do it outside like my old house, because like feeling like the grass and like feeling the sun. I also feel like spending time in nature is like so important for like your mental health, and I think like sometimes I didn't even realize, and I think people forget because we've just like created those like little boxes that we live in.
We do forget to have a relationship with nature, and like if someone told me like to have a relationship with nature like 5 years ago, I literally would be like, actually
I love staying in my room. Like I used to be like, I used to take pride in the fact that I didn't like nature or whatever it was. Proud of it, and now I look back and I'm like, what type of like I'm quirky and different type of girl was I? Sometimes like I'll just be on the verge of like an anxiety attack or a panic attack, and like I'll just go outside and be like, oh, like it's not that serious, you know.
You're reminded how small your problems are, and like how like I'll go to the park for a really long time often, like at least once a week to ground myself. It's like my version of therapy and meditation, because I don't meditate. Like I'll go to the park for a couple hours alone, and like that's my version of meditating. And it just it reminds me like in those moments, and like you literally couldn't have paid me to do this years ago, but then I suddenly wanted to start doing this, and it just reminds me how like beautiful life is almost, and like how to not like take things so serious, and like none of this matters, the things that you're like stressing and anxious about.
It just helps you be present, you know.
Like look where you are, like you're on this like stop fucking thinking about all of this. It doesn't matter. Like you're just be appreciative and be happy, and like be thankful for like where you are, and you can be here and stand here and walk here. Like just be thankful for that.
Yeah, I think like all of those things, like meditation, like being in nature, like all of those different things just help you be present and realize like you are in the present moment. You're not in like the situation that you are thinking about in the past, or like the possible situation you're thinking about in the future. You're just here right now. It's really hard, especially today in like a world of social media, when like things from the past are so easily accessible, and like you just think about the future. But like it's so important to like have something that helps you like remember to be present. It sounds so cliche, but like like the past is literally gone, and tomorrow is not here yet, and you just have right now.
Cliches are real.
They're all real. So real. The more I grow up, I'm like, oh wow,
God, they're real.
I'm like, am I becoming a live, laugh, love like type woman?
I'm like the corniest person ever, but like
I'm definitely like becoming a stereotype. It's like my whole childhood I tried so hard to like just like not be any stereotype. I'm like, I'm definitely like a hippie now.
Dude, there's been times where like last year I was like, I'm literally becoming a hippie, and I got so worried. I was like, no, you need to, like, there was points where I was like, I'm leaving everyone.
I literally tell everybody, like I'll be like, you know what, like I just don't want to participate in society. I just think it's so scary. Like I'm like, why do we have to do this? I'm like, I'll like literally get into like, my mom thinks I am like completely off the deep end, because I'll just be like, well, like sometimes she'll tell me things. I'm like, well, I just think that's a social construct, and she'll be like, what? Like, I'm like, yeah, I don't believe it. And she's like, I mean, it's still real. I'm like, yeah, but it was invented. So I'm like, is it? I think that's growing up. The more I think about it, I'm like, so like, is growing up just realizing that like there's just like a system to everything. You're just like kind of in the middle of it.
I mean, that's part of it, is realizing kind of, or like growing awareness to like the system that you're in, but then also making peace with it and like seeing like not only the negatives but also the benefits, so you don't go insane, because like you can just want to die if you just think of all the negatives that like this sort of society has given you, in this sort of society, like even capitalism. Like I could go on about how terrible it is, and like, yeah, to a certain extent, absolutely, that's true. But like I can't, like, this is an example, I can't fixate on all the things that are like, people shit on like America even, and like just how bad it is, but I'm like, it's also a really good country, and it's given a lot of opportunity to a lot of people. Like I think it's important for everyone, not just in those categories, but just to look at the positive, the negative for what it is, and also look at the positive for what it is. So you have like that, to me, is part of growing up, is like not picking a lane that best suits your own agenda, and like really looking at things truthfully, and like then making wise decisions beyond that. But back to like presence and going outside, and like how it's hard during social media era. Like I think that it's really important, especially now, because like we talked about how hard it is to detach from this digital world, and like I think our advice to that is like go outside, and like take time,
walk
for
outside,
yourself.
like take a walk every day, and like
without your phone.
like honestly, like it's literally that simple, and I'm like, wow, maybe life isn't that like complicated.
We literally have like all the answers to make our lives so much easier, and we just like choose to do them when we figure them out. But like
it's definitely hard, because like I think we've just like forgotten, kind of. You just have to learn what works for you, and just learn to like a way that you can feel present.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much
on my podcast.
Thank you for having me. This is so exciting.
And bye.
Bye.